Welcome back, Monkeyball TVers. It's time to talk about the big dogs. Top 16 people. The bracket looks like this. By now, you've been to playmonkeyball.com and downloaded your bracket and probably, or at least once, and probably filled out a couple of iterations, gone through some mock drafts, whatever you need to do. We've done the same.
We have. It's one of our favorite days of the year to
really
go through the bracket and predict who's going to do what.
Really is. So I think it's why don't you talk a little bit about the format that you instigated? 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, this is the third year, maybe the fourth year of this format for the tournament. So the way the format breaks down is we have 5 qualifying groups in the morning. The first qualifying group is going to be played on the center courts.
I was going to say I'll go down the slide and come back up by the time this gets done.
Make it quick.
All right.
And those middle courts are made up of the top 16 players that are at the World Championships. It actually ends up being the top 25 in the world because we have some people that didn't show up this year. So
terrible.
We put all the kind of the all-stars in the center. And the way it works is you play a little tournament, and 12 of those people will advance to the afternoon, and the 4 people who lose their first 2 matches will have to play a play-in game against one of the players from one of the other courts. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of pressure, but it's also a good time to see some of the best players play the game.
And they play on center court. It's basically, I mean, if you're, it's a little perk for being ranked in the top 25 this year. I think that it's one of my favorite parts of the entire day because you get to see some really high quality monkey ball showcased on center courts, and it also helps the other groups because if you're coming in. You're a rookie, you've never been to our event before, your event before. It kind of gives you know that you're not going up against Dean Allen, a defending champion, right off the bat.
We've said Dean Allen's name a lot already this year. We should start drinking when we say Dean Allen's name.
Ooh, cheers.
I like that, Dean Allen.
For the rest of the week. Every time Dean Allen, that's going to suck. Okay, so we're going to go through the bracket, the top 16 bracket. We're going to make it snappy. We're going to make it quick. We're not talking projections. We're just really judging the people that are in those 4 quads. So in the top quad, Kamish, we've got number 1, Jason Salmon, versus number 16, Rex Danley, and Monkeyball Jesus, number 8, Eric Ternosky, versus number 9, Keith Hagen. That 9 ranking for Hagen, I feel like, is low. He's a danger mouse.
Hagen's probably low. All the time, I think Eric Ternosky's high at 8, but Cuz just brings it. He comes every year and he plays. Obviously, Jason Salmon with back-to-back semifinal appearances, actually runner-up 2 years ago, 4th place last year. Rex Danley sneaks in, the number 25 guy in the world sneaks in, and I don't know if he's ready for this. He did win his qualifying group. Ow!
He just hit his head on the treehouse. Moving on.
Rex Danley, anyways, he'll come to play. I don't think he really gets nervous about these things.
I don't either. He's too buff to get nervous about anything. All right, so the next quad, we've got Chuck Ternosky, who I can't say his name without laughing because I love the man. Kevin Guns, the 4 versus the 13, and then Dean Allen.
Good.
Versus yours truly, Andy Osters. That's his first round draw.
I think all you fans at home, I think you need to make sure you're at center courts for that first round matchup between Dean and Andy. That's probably the biggest and best first round matchup we have.
Grudge match. It's going to be pretty serious. I'm going to have to get my A game rolling real quick in the morning, which means I hope Casey shows up with the kegs early.
Not much to say about Chuck and Kevin. I mean, they're both good, but
Kevin,
really Dean
come with clothes on. Really. Next quad. The commissioner, ranked number 2 this year. That was impressive. Taking on Ryan Lepeak, our first... we'll get to him later, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then that's a 2:15 match. I think that's kind of a foregone conclusion. Sorry, Ryan. And then you've got Slow-Mo Brent Morrow. Oh, new nickname. Cheers. Slow-Mo Brent Morrow versus Snoop-a-Loop, Jim Wenzel. I have stuff to talk about Jim Wenzel later.
Later?
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Okay, we'll get to it later?
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Lepeak is representing the Jackson crew. We'll talk more about those Jackson Monkey Ball fans a little bit later. I don't want to look past him at all. I mean, he's got skills. But I like my first round matchup. Morrow and Wenzel. Wenzel,
that could be an interesting match.
He is at least 7 foot tall, and he is just a quiet assassin.
I like you this year, Jim. I like you. Moving on, last foursome here. We've got my buddy Sean Dameron versus your brother Casey Freshour.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 3-14 matchup. And then lastly, we've got DK, Donkey Kong himself, Dan Keitel, number 6, taking on Dan Renner, who I think you're going to hear from at some point this week, or maybe you already have. I'm not sure.
No, we'll hear from Dan later this week.
That's kind of a stacked. That scares me. Of all the quads, that scares me the most, because Sean, I don't think actually has come into his own or blossomed at a Worlds event, or at least anything north of the Mason-Dixon yet. I think he's going to do well this year, mostly because he's looking for redemption. You know he is.
He's had a rough time at Worlds.
Sorry.
But, at the Megagate tournament in Vegas, Sean and I were able to win that tournament, and he was the MVP. So he's a money player, and I think he might show up this year.
I think that pretty much does it. We're not going to get to predictions yet, so those are your top 16 players. Center court, August 6th. We'll see you then.